Non-Denouement is the new arc bow from Salvation's Edge. Normally, one would not be creaming their johns over a bow to any capacity, for the unfortunate fact that they can be outclassed by a lot in their primary area, especially when it comes to ad clearing. But in the case for Non-Denouement, the solution has been solved. A bow that can roll the perk Volt Shot. Yes, Bungie made the first ever legendary Trinity Ghoul, and it's actually better than Trinity Ghoul itself. Getting into some raw numbers real quick, at base damage for the Non-Denouement, we get 15k per headshot, and for Trinity Ghoul, being an exotic primary with a 30% increase to its base damage, it's doing 18k per headshot. Now that the irrelevant numbers are established, time to get into the real deal breakers, the perks itself. Volt Shot versus Lightning Rod. And in 10 light under content, both perks stay neck to neck until you run into the occasional yellow bar enemy. And this is where Trinity Ghoul does fall off. Because it's a yellow bar enemy, the 30% exotic primary buff is now gone. And Lightning Rod does pennies on the dollar type of damage. The worst part, once you use the Lightning Rod shot, you're all out. And this is where Volt Shot takes major lead. Upon applying Volt Shot to an enemy that doesn't get instantly one-shotted by it, it jolts the target. But Jolt has the ability to linger around and apply more damage via a threshold that needs to be met. With this threshold, it does have a cooldown of 0.8 seconds, which is normally never an issue, especially with a bow that has a draw time that exceeds past the time frame. Now for the damage threshold that needs to be met on the Non-Denouement, it's actually still in luck. Being the highest damage frame in the bow category, along with being a weapon that has decent single target damage for a primary, you're guaranteed to proc Jolt every time you land a hit, body shot or precision shot, making it just the better option between the two bows. And I don't say this lightly, for I used to be a Trinity Ghoul main, and all this was shown in only 10 under content. Once you enter higher difficulty content, I would argue that the gap between Trinity and Legendary Trinity only get further apart. Now we are going to be moving over to the D2 Foundry. Here, I shall show you my god roll, and then a couple of honorable mentions when it comes to its perks. So of course, from the beginning of this video, you can already tell that we are going to be going with Volt Shot. There are other perks that are in this category that are of note, and we will talk about them later. But when it comes to the god roll itself, I do say that making it an off-brand Trinity Ghoul is just the better way to go. Now for the roll that I have been running around with, it was Shoot to Loot. Now Shoot to Loot is always going to be a nice perk. It's just quality of life. When you shoot a brick, not only do you get the ammo that is inside the brick, but it reloads all of your weapons. But I would consider Shoot to Loot to be an honorable mention. Another honorable mention would be actually Dragonfly. Dragonfly, upon scoring a precision kill, will detonate the target. That, along with Volt Shot, does kind of give you the sense of a double explosion. One of the detonations is literally just Volt Shot shooting its electricity out. The other one is an actual explosion from Dragonfly. So in terms of ad clearing with the primary, I do say that this is a very decent roll to go with. But now we're going to get into more of the technical rolls. Now when it comes to bows and their DPS, there's two things to keep in mind. One is your draw time and the other is your reload. Increasing both of these stats gets you closer to shooting your next arrow. So there are two perks to go with on that one. There is Archer's Tempo. Upon scoring a precision hit, you essentially get, I know it says 0.75, but that just equates to 25% decreasing draw time on precision hits. Now another perk that you might want to actually consider would be Impulse Amplifier. What Impulse Amplifier is actually a 0.8 times reload duration multiplier. So therefore just increasing the reload from taking the arrow out and putting it on the bow. Pretty much just that. But out of these two perks, personally, I might just want to go with Archer's Tempo or Shoot to Loot. What was not mentioned before is that this is craftable, so everything is able to be enhanced. Now the masterwork, of course, you could go one of two routes again. It's either draw time or reload. Either way, it is speeding you up to shoot off your next arrow. I'm gonna go with draw time simply because that's just what I want to choose. But let's get into the arrows and strings. I think there's only one string that could ever be considered when it comes to bows, at least, and that's Elastic String. It takes off the fattest number from your draw time, so just faster draw time, and that's honestly the only reason to go with it. And when it comes to your arrows, I do honestly still believe that there's only one good arrow, and that is Compact Arrow Shaft. It gives you 10 reload, which, like I've said multiple times now, reload and draw time both decrease the time from when one arrow shot to the next. And when considering all of that, I think everything else just seems pretty lackluster. Accuracy, I don't really see it as a stat that you really need to worry about too much, so something like straight fletching, I'm not really losing sleep over it. And of course we have the origin trait, but the origin trait is quite mid if you ask me. It's a stacking bonus when you're around allies. For bows specifically, it will decrease its draw time even further, which is nice to have, but to build craft around having people around or not is a weird idea to me. So that's why I will move on to that. Now with this bow, I have yet to talk about the elephant in the room, and that's the fact that Archer's Gambit is back in the game and it's on this bow. Archer's Gambit, in gist, is a 0.40 draw time reduction multiplier. And to bring that into comparison with something familiar, Archer's Tempo is only a 0.75 draw time reduction multiplier. And with this massive reduction in draw time, you can achieve amazing single target damage for primary standards. But this is taking away the efficiency of your ad clear by not going with Volt Shot. But for any bow mains in PvP, I can see why this is a hands down perk to go with. Now I hope you guys have found at least one thing in this video insightful, and if you did, drop a like for me. It helps the video get out to more people and makes me just a little bit more happy in life. Now take care and peace.